Today I'm going to tell you all about gold foil stamping, what types of invitations it's best for, how it works, why it sometimes costs so much, and how to best use your gold foil designs. Hi, I'm Laney. I sell custom and semi-custom wedding invitations. You can check out some of our designs at designbylaney.com. And I also teach people how to start and run successful stationery businesses. So check out our membership stationery school if you want to become a stationery designer yourself. Okay, so what is gold foil printing? Gold foil printing basically means that someone's going to run your design on an actual press. They're going to take a giant die cut out of your design in metal. They're going to put a piece of foil over and they're going to stamp it with a lot of heat and pressure into the paper. So what this does is it creates a really shiny, beautiful effect, but it also gives you an indentation into the paper. So like letterpress printing, which we also have a video on, there you can actually feel the indent of the foil, but the difference between gold foil and letterpress printing are that gold foil actually has a sheet of foil that's pressed in with heat, whereas letterpress printing has ink and it's rolled on and then pressed in. So that's kind of the big difference. So gold foil definitely generally is shiny. It's got kind of a glam vibe. It's going to be a little bit more opaque coverage than letterpress printing, which is made with ink that's kind of painted or rolled on. Now the title is gold foil stamping and everyone talks about it like that, but you can actually use lots of different colors. This one is a rose gold. And here's an example of a fun invitation we did in copper foil. You can even do matte foil printing with matte colors, lots of different brushes. You can do holographic foil. Matte printing is really cool for white because if you're trying to get a really opaque white coverage on a colored stock, like a dark colored stock specifically, then you can't use letterpress printing. You can use white ink digital printing, but it's sometimes a little bit less opaque. So if you want a really good coverage, you can use white matte foil stamping, which is really cool. So why is gold foil stamping so expensive? So it all comes from two things. There's a cost to make the die, which means they have to actually carve out of metal a die for your design. And if you have multiple colors of foil, then you have to do one die for each one, as well as a press run for each one. So that's the second part, is the press run. That's physically someone putting it on the press and running that print for you. So those are the two costs. The press run is usually about the same, whether you're printing one or you're printing about 500 is where price breaks usually are. So if you have a ton of wedding invitations, it's actually gonna divide out pretty well because it's not that expensive, but there is a high starting cost because of that die. So if you're only printing like 10 invitations, gold foil might not be the right path for you. How come some websites have gold foil invitations or save the dates for way cheaper? That's because they're reusing dies. So if you were to do a design like this one, where the foil is only this kind of Art Deco piece at the top, then you could reuse that die a million times. So each individual client is not paying for a brand new die to be created. However, if you were going to do something like this, where your names are in foil too, your wedding date, all your text, then you do have to create a brand new die each time. So you might see something where, say, the date is in foil, but then your names, date, website, etc. are digitally printed. So then they're reusing the die between a lot of clients, and that's how they're able to keep the cost down. Because gold foil is actually stamping into the paper, you typically want a thicker paper in order to get more of an indentation. This is my first ever gold foil wedding invitation. This was in 2015, 6 years ago. And you may or may not be able to see, but it does not have very much indentation at all. That's because it's on a much thinner paper than what I typically do it on now. See how much thicker this one is than this one? It's not to say this is bad, sorry, Erica and Michael, but I just knew a little bit less about what I was doing, and so I used a thinner paper. So thick papers like cotton, or this is a double thick eggshell paper. We have a whole video on wedding invitation papers you can check out. This is gonna give you more of an indentation and it's just gonna feel a little bit more luxurious. That's not to say you can't foil print on thinner papers, just not gonna give you that pressed in feel. Here we've done foil stamping on vellum. It's a thicker vellum than usual, but still really, really cool and doesn't give too much of an indentation because the vellum doesn't really allow for that. So what type of designs work best for foil? First of all, designs you're going to be reusing over and over again on every piece of your invitation suites. So that's why something like a return address can be foiled, because you're using that on all of your invitations, but you don't want to foil the guest address because they change for each one. So you have to create a die for each one. That would be exorbitantly expensive. Just pay for calligraphy or address printing, which we have a whole video on that too. It works best for thinner designs. You can't really gold foil a full invitation to gold, except for like a small part, for instance. That's going to be really difficult. So you want to stick to thinner lines. You don't want to do anything with like too much coverage, because the foil can get a little bit spotty if it's not perfectly applied or if it gets scratched or something. So in all of these examples, we really have used it for line drawings. This hexagon design is nice, and we've used it for the text. But you wouldn't want to do something like doing foil for this entire thing, because digital printing just works a lot better for that, and foil is not going to give you the coverage that you necessarily want. So I have a whole video also on preparing your files for letterpress or gold foil printing, because it's kind of complicated how you have to set up the die. And then if you're also mixing with digital printing or any other type of printing, you have to have multiple different versions of your files. So if you are a stationery designer and you're looking for more info on that, check out the video in the corner. Please reach out if you'd like to discuss some gold foil wedding invitations. Those are my jam. I love how fun and glam and shiny and luxurious gold foil feels, and there's a lot of really creative ways that we can use it. So feel free to reach out, or you can shop all of our semi-custom invitations at designbylaney.com.